Greetings viewers, Eric the Car Guy here, also known as ETCG1 on this channel. Why? Because I got the hat. Anyway, here on ETCG1 we talk about stuff. We don't do repair videos. If you're looking for repair videos, check out the description. There will be a link to the Eric the Car Guy channel. You can go there and watch all the repair videos that you like. But if you'd like to stick around and join in the conversation, I welcome you to do so. Hi. It was not that long ago that I put out a video about list prices on parts and how those prices are sort of calculated. And that sparked some discussion, some debate. Some of you agreed with the practice, some of you didn't agree with the practice. This video is somewhat related to that, in that I would like to talk a little bit about vintage parts, because a few of you brought up some parts that you couldn't find that were ridiculously, outrageously expensive. And behind me, I have two vehicles that I've been working on recently, and I have found out a lot about vintage parts and tracking them down through the course of working on these. The Fairmont recently got a carburetor kit, and the Vigor recently did electrical repair, blower motor. I also looked up body panels and things for it, and believe it or not, the parts for the Acura Vigor are actually way more expensive, and that being a 93, than the parts for the 79 Fairmont. And that doesn't seem to make sense when you think about it, because the Fairmont is so much older. 79, 93. What's going on? There's a pretty big span of difference there. A couple of things come into play there. There were a gajillion Fairmonts, aka Fox bodies, that were made, so parts for those are plentiful. The Vigor, on the other hand, was only made for 3 years and sort of carried over for another 3 years in the 2.5 TL, which makes its parts difficult to find. In fact, many times when I go to find parts for the Vigor, I find no longer available, at least through the original equipment. So those parts fall into the category of vintage parts. And I don't know, a lot of times they say vintage or classic starts around 25 years. The Vigor, does the Vigor fall into that? Yeah, it just about does. Manufacturers stop making parts for them. Aftermarket manufacturers may stop making parts for them after a certain point. It depends on the popularity of the vehicle, depends on the rarity of the vehicle. Because they're not going to make parts for something that there's only a few of. And if they do, those parts would be more expensive. It has to do with something called supply and demand. In essence, what we talked about last time with the price of parts being linked to what retail price is as opposed to wholesale price. Well, the same thing is sort of true for vintage parts, and it has to do with supply and demand. So if there aren't a lot of vehicles out there, such as my Vigor, the parts are going to be a bit more expensive and more difficult to find because there's less of them. Whereas with the 79 Fairmont, I was able to find a carburetor kit for that for, I think, right around $20, and was able to rebuild the whole thing, and everything was great. But that, I think, dictates a lot of it. I think a lot of it is dictated by supply and demand. Quarter panels for the Vigor, remember the rust repair stuff that we did? I think they were priced out, no longer available by the way, but priced them out somewhere around $1,100 a piece. Yeah, pretty scary. The fuse box that I just replaced, no longer available. The integrated control unit, no longer available, but the prices on those things were about 800 bucks. I could probably find one for the Fairmont, you know, for a fuse box, which probably consists of about 6 fuses, if that, for like 10, 20 bucks. Why? Because there's more of them out there. So there were more parts available. They're more sought after, or they're just more popular. Like I said, this Acura was only around for about 3 years. That makes it a rare car just in and of itself. So if you have an interest in something like this Acura Vigor behind me that there aren't a lot of out on the road, beware, because when you go to buy parts, you may not be able to find them. I was fortunate enough to find what I needed for the Vigor through salvage, and it was very reasonably priced. So grateful for that. But if I was not able to find that, then I might have been out of luck, because as I said, I can't find people that make the parts for this car anymore. So I would have to dig around quite a bit. So she's a rare bird, this Acura Vigor of mine, and I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to call it. I think I'm going to call it the Millennium Falcon. I kind of like that because it's kind of dirty, and I've had to put a lot of work into it. It sort of feels like that, my Millennium Falcon. Oliver, well, Oliver's Oliver. So vintage parts, depends on the vehicle, depends on availability, and its supply and demand. So for those of you that brought that up in the last video, you were talking about how outrageously expensive it was for a certain part. Well, it's the desirability for that part that's going to help dictate that price. So in other words, if you desire it highly and there aren't many of them out there, then they're probably going to put a premium price on it. However, if you have something that's a bit more popular, then you might have an easier time of it, and you might find an aftermarket company that makes an OE replacement that makes things that much cheaper. But I'm going to throw this discussion back out to you, and that is, what is your experience with vintage parts? Have you run into situations where you've tried to find a part for a vehicle and it was just wicked expensive and you just couldn't understand why? And then were you able to find a solution to that? Did you find something via salvage? Did you have to like order it from some salvage yard in Indonesia? I don't know. It's just, what are your experiences? Or on the flip side, if you had something that you expected to be vintage, expected to be difficult to find, and you found out it was really easy to find and it was really easy to track down those parts. There are two sides to this. Your side is important. So in addition to the comments below, there will be a link to a discussion about this video in the description should you desire to join us over there. Also, hey, if you have automotive questions, I would ask that you head over to ericthecarguy.com. It's a welcome video to tell you about all our amazing features there that can help you with those automotive issues should you have them. If you wish to connect with me socially, I can be found on Google+, Facebook, and Twitter. I post ETCG1 videos on Monday, so stop back next Monday and check out the next one. And I close each of my videos with be safe, have fun, stay dirty. I will see you next time. Bye-bye.